What is manipulative media? Manipulative media are instruments that help with hands-on learning. They might be actual things or computer programs that students can interact to acquire a notion and achieve comprehension or mastery of specific subjects. These tools help pupils increase their knowledge by utilizing their visual and kinesthetic senses.
Now, what is the main functions of manipulative? Its main function is to let students connect ideas and symbols to physical objects, which will promote a better understanding. It can also be a tool to help students solve problems by using physical models to represent their thinking. And now I'll be giving some examples. We have alphabet blocks, cubes, clay dough, board games, and origami abacus.
What is a abacus? An abacus is an instrument for performing calculations by sliding counters along rods or in grooves. To use an abacus, you need to first organize the beads so that they are not touching the wood in the middle as it would count as a number. And by using your thumb to count the lower beads, the index finger is now used for the rest of the counting. Next is you should determine the value each column will represent. The most common value determination is the farthest right is counted as the ones in a number, then the beads above them will represent the 5. And as the column goes, more left the value gets multiplied by 10. The second column is now worth tens, the third is worth 100s, and so on and so forth.
And now guys, we'll be showing you the brief history of manipulative media. We'll be starting from Southwest Asia 750 BC to 1450. Counting boards, wooden or clay trays, coated with a thin coating of sand, were utilized by ancient civilizations in Southwest Asia. These were used to count inventory or anything else that needed to be counted. The Salamis tablet, the first known counting board used by Babylonians in 1899. It was discovered on the Greek island of Salamis.
The earliest abacus, based on a counting board, was invented by the ancient Romans. This was made of beans or stones that moves in sand grooves or on tables made of wood, stone, or metal.
221 BC to 1370, Chinese civilization. The history of China civilization in manipulative media. The abacus was a counting device used by the Chinese. The Chinese abacus, known as swanpan. The swanpan, sometimes spelled suwanpan or suwanpab, is a Chinese abacus that was originally mentioned in a 190 CE book of Eastern Han Dynasty by Xu Yue.
1438 to 1533 Inca Empire. The Incas also had their own counting implement called quipu, which was composed of knotted threads. Quipu, or sometimes called kipu, are strings-based recording devices that were traditionally utilized by a variety of tribes in the Andean, South American area.
1800 to 1900, the advent of the first real manipulative, maneuverable items that appeal to several senses and are particularly created for teaching mathematical ideas occurred in the late 1800s. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, 1712 to 1778, 18th century Genevan philosopher, writer, and composer. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, his political theory had an impact on the French Revolution, as well as the growth of contemporary political, social, and educational ideas. He introduced Romanticism in his book, Emily, in which he argued for the importance of learning through the senses. Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi, 1746 to 1827, Swiss pedagogue and educational reformer, whose approach typified Romanticism the first individual who actively believed in and campaigned for the use of manipulatives or hands-on learning. As an educational technique, he developed the Pestalozzi method as a hands-on learning method, learning through head, heart, and hand. He says, before they can grasp abstract notions, children must first learn what is concrete. Friedrich Wilhelm August Froebel, 1782 to 1852. A German pedagogue and Pestalozzi student who set the groundwork for contemporary education by recognizing that children have individual needs and capacities. He is renowned as the father of kindergarten and created the educational toys known as Froebel gifts or Froebelgaben, which comprise geometric construction blocks and pattern activity blocks. Jean Piaget, 1896 to 1980, a Swiss developmental psychologist and philosopher best known for his work with children on epistemology, his cognitive development theory, and epistemological viewpoint are referred to together as genetic epistemology. He described a specific cognitive development of children, emphasizing the significance of tangible process. In the early stages of knowledge production, before going on to formal operations, children must first develop knowledge through concrete operations. Maria Tecla Artemisia Montessori, 1870 to 1952. An Italian physician and educator well recognized for her philosophy of education and writings on scientific pedagogy. She was the one who invented the usage of manipulatives. Her purpose is to provide youngsters with the opportunity to learn via own research and exploration. She established a network of schools centered on sensory education. Montessori's gifts are multimodal, sequential, and self-correcting materials that enable skill acquisition and lead to abstract concept learning. The Montessori technique of learning is a method of educating young children that emphasizes the development of a child's own initiative and natural skills, particularly via practical play.
Types of manipulatives media: traditional and digital. What is traditional media? I hear and forget, I see and remember, Confucius from 551 to 479 BC once said. I do and I comprehend. In response to Confucius' words, some people have organized or devised methods for incorporating manipulatives with learning. Friedrich Froebel created the Froebel's gifts to encourage the advancement of construction and symbolism. In 1967, Maria Montessori stated that the goal of education should be to find activities that are so intrinsically meaningful that we'd want to throw ourselves into them. From Wilson, 338.
The advantages of traditional media are simpler, more movable, tactile experience adds a dimension of learning, allows students to become more creative selecting pieces. Student has more control, process is traceable, allows trial and error, units are easier to distinguish, make the whole easier to see, easier to relate to real-world applications, less expensive than technology.
Digital manipulative media. Digital manipulatives are computationally enhanced versions of physical objects designed to broaden the range of concepts available to children through direct manipulation. They embed computational and communication hardware inside physical objects. Patton et al. As cited in Zuckerman et al. 2005. Brights 2009 cites Renzik et al. Because of technological advancements and the prevalence of the internet, a new breed of manipulatives has emerged, virtual and digital manipulatives. Using computers or computer-based objects or programs, this new type of manipulative aids teaching and learning. For the advantages, you get immediate feedback. You know when something is correct or incorrect. It's easier to maneuver and stay together, much easier to grasp the concept, provide a wider range of experiences, and allow for the learning of more complex operations. It also catches the technology generation's attention, would keep the student's attention. For the disadvantages, it could be addictive. You cannot physically touch it since it is in a simulations, video games, or etc. Some content does not yet have models. It is more appropriate for use after a student who is already older. Internet access is frequently required. It may be difficult for the teacher to follow the student's thought processes, and it may feel more like do rather than learn and explore.